You are listening to Greg and his friends talk sports. 10 to 20 minutes every day, Greg and his friends are talking about what Central Indiana sports fans are talking about. Every day on the Central Indiana Sports Report.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, Central Indiana sports fans. Whenever you've tuned in to Greg and his friends talk sports, we love having you here. And there's a few more of you every single day. Coming up, it's an all-Indiana semifinal in the Crossroads men's basketball tournament with wins by Indiana Wesleyan, Grace, Bethel, and Huntington on Wednesday. IU and Ball State's women both got big wins, and we'll look ahead to Thursday, including a top 15 showdown between the Purdue Boilermakers and the Michigan State Spartans. Also, the Pacers are at home against the Hornets, and an abbreviated Thursday high school boys basketball schedule. Before we get to all that, I want to let you know what's going on at the Central Indiana Sports Report, and we have had a busy week. We released our Pacers report with Mike Rich on Monday, our IU report with Grant Schaus and Mike Hutzel on Tuesday, our Purdue report with Jake Dunn on Wednesday, and our IndyCar season preview is coming up later today with host Elijah Poe and guests Michelle Garman, Heather Apt, and Will Rutherford. Also, we're going to have a fight report this weekend, Will's weekly podcast, and we think we're going to have Fever and Colts reports this weekend, but that has not been settled yet. Thanks so much for joining us. My friends and I will be back tomorrow and the next day, and the next day, and the day after that. All four home teams and better seeds, all teams from Indiana, Bethel, Huntington, Grace, and Indiana Wesleyan advanced in the Crossroads League men's basketball tournament on Wednesday. Freshman Gavin Benton scored 24 points off the bench as number 2 Grace beat Spring Arbor 82-72. Caden Johnson had 21 points and 10 rebounds in Huntington's 85-68 win over Mount Vernon Nazarene. Taylor shot just 41% and had 14 turnovers, and an 84-73 loss at number 11 Bethel. And number 3 Indiana Wesleyan went on a 38-10 first half run and blasted St. Francis 97-55. On Saturday at 1, 23-6 Bethel's at 26-3 Grace in what should be a great one. And at 3 o'clock, it's 22-7 Huntington at 25-4 Indiana Wesleyan at 3 in Marion. The championship game is scheduled for Tuesday. The women's semifinals are on Friday. Coming up to talk about the Indiana Wesleyan men and women and preview Oak Hills girls in the Class 2A state championship is Scott Hunt of the Marion Chronicle-Tribune in our Thursday conversation at the end of today's wrap-up. In Division I, Butler lost at Villanova 82-73. In the Missouri Valley, leading Belmont ripped Evansville 98-64. Indiana State lost 66-55 at Southern Illinois, and Valpo won its 17th game of the year, 74-71 over Drake. And in the Horizon, IU Indy lost at home to Oakland 86-74, and Purdue Fort Wayne lost at home to leading Wright State 74-71. Man, it is so sad how bad our small schools are in Indiana. I remember a time when they were all good. Now they all suck. In women's college basketball, big win for IU, 79-69 at Rutgers on Wednesday night. 4 Hoosiers scored in double figures. And the starter who wasn't in double figures was Odessa Noyan, who had 6 points and 15 rebounds. IU's now 16-13 and tied for 13th in the Big Ten. The top 15 advanced to the Big Ten tournament next week in Indianapolis. And Purdue fell to 12-16 with a 71-65 home loss to Oregon. The Boilermakers are now 16th in the Big Ten and will have to beat Northwestern on Sunday to make the conference tournament. And Ball State won its 23rd game of the year and remains a half game behind Miami at the top of the MAC after an 88-55 win over Akron at Worthen Arena. The Cardinals held the Zips to 32% shooting and just 4 of 29 from behind the three-point arc. Now taking a look ahead to Thursday, February 26, 2026 in Central Indiana sports. And we start with a matchup of a pair of top 11 teams in West Lafayette. It's number 11 and 22-5 Michigan State going to Purdue. to face the 22-5 8th-ranked Boilermakers. Of course, the Big Ten race is over. Michigan is your champion. But, of course, this is still a huge game as far as Big Ten and NCAA seeding goes. And, of course, you always want to beat Michigan State. Plus continued momentum heading into the postseason tournaments after beating IU 93-68 on Friday. And now a clip from Wednesday's Purdue report where Jake and I talked about how the Boilermakers have been playing and preview Thursday's game against the Spartans.
A guy who, certainly could cause Purdue some trouble. So somebody's got to be on him. I'm not sure who they're going to match up on who, but so I don't know if Braden Smith will be guarding Jeremy Fears or maybe we'll see CJ Cox on him, but that'll be kind of the battle to watch here.
You've watched a lot of Michigan State this year, Jake. What else do they do well and what else can be exploited?
Yeah, we talked about rebounding here. They get roughly 40% of its offense from second chance opportunities. So that's something that we're really going to have to...
Not a Tom Izzo team. They don't rebound well.
The classic Tom Izzo team here. Get a lot of second chance points off of rebounders. Jackson Kohler and Carson Cooper, their front court, they are pretty big. In the front court there, Jackson Kohler is averaging 12.3 points a game, 9.3 rebounds per game, and also shoots 40% from three. So that's something that is kind of hurt Purdue, having somebody on their team who can stretch out and hit from three, a big man. And Carson Cooper, who he's really a defensive anchor. He likes to be on that high hedge in the pick and roll, and he's a pretty good rim protector too. And obviously we mentioned Cohen Carr. He can jump out of the gym, can jump over you to get the rebound. So if Michigan State's out here getting 15 plus offensive rebounds, and Purdue's going to be in danger. But if Purdue can keep it even in that aspect or even win the rebounding margin, certainly going to be a massive and getting the win here. We talked about in the IU game recap that Purdue only allowed one offensive rebound, so going to be a much more physical team than IU, but if we can have a somewhat of a similar result, certainly gonna help out Purdue here quite a bit.
I think perimeter defense is really key because if they're making three-pointers, they're going to be tough to beat.
We've talked about multiple times this season how teams have come into Mackey and shot really well, and Michigan State's a team that likes to run. So if whether off makes or misses, turnovers, broken possessions, whatever it is, they like to run. So keeping off of threes that Purdue that misses, they're going to have to limit things in transition, and that's really got to be a non-negotiable here. I think a good goal is to keep that, keep them under 10 fast break points for this game. So can't be having careless cross-court passes. You can't be missing, layups, and want to make sure that the floor is properly balanced too, to try to prevent having those runouts for Michigan State's, or having those opportunities that are 2-on-1 in their favor in transition, especially with guys like Cohen Carr. They can just jump over you and put the ball in the hoop. Yeah, it's certainly gonna have to limit things in transition too.
Prediction?
I think the game plan here is going to be to feed TKR. Michigan State like to play one-on-one in the post. If he gets single coverage, they don't bring the double, then I think he's got a really good chance to have a really big game. If they do double him, he can pass it out for kick out threes. As long as he can stay out of trouble, I think he's going to have a good game. And because of that, obviously for Purdue, they're going to have the opportunity to make threes as well. Just the way that Michigan State plays defense, they like to force tough twos. They like to limit assists, and they like to play the gaps. So they are willing to concede some certain three-point attempts. So Purdue doesn't necessarily need to make 15 threes, but they do need to punish any help on those post-entry passes. Need to stretch the hedge coverage and pick and roll, and they need to keep that lane open. So if they're efficient there, that'll certainly supersede any sort of volume from three-point land that they can exploit. But I think score prediction, I'm going to go Purdue 75, Michigan State 63. So 12-point win here for Purdue. I think Trey Colin-Brand's going to have a pretty good game.
Jake, for once, I'm going to take under for your margin. I think it's going to be 7-9. I also think it's going to be higher scoring than you said, so give me
89-80 Boilermakers.
Okay.
Cannot wait for that one. The Michigan State games every year are some of the ones I look forward to the most. And in the NBA at 7 o'clock, your Indiana Pacers host the Charlotte Hornets. Of course, the Pacers have the worst record in the Eastern Conference, the second worst record in the NBA at 15-44. The Hornets are 28-31 and currently hold down the final play-in spot for the playoffs. They're a game and a half ahead of Milwaukee, so they're definitely going to want to win this one. And as I do every so often, I visit tankathon.com to simulate the NBA draft lottery that's going to be happening on May 10th. It's ridiculous and stupid, but I do it every day anyway. And here we are simulating the draft, and the Pacers get the number 2 pick, and it's Darren Peterson. This is new. Cameron Boozer now the projected number 1 pick, as he should be. I think that's the guy the Pacers want and need, and apparently they're going to have to get the number 1 pick overall to get Cameron Boozer. Tankathon also had the Grizzlies moving up 7 spots to take Boozer at number 1. And a handful of high school basketball games on Thursday night. The one I'm going to be at is 9-12 Burris at 16-6 Blackford. 14-8 Alexandria goes to 15-7 Taylor, a couple of sectional championship contenders. Alexandria has won 6 in a row. 6-15 Tipton's at 16-5 LaPel. The Bulldogs have also won 6 straight. Class 2A number 10 Sheridan is 17-4 and hosts 4-16 Traders Point Christian. 8-12 Anderson Prep hosts 5-15 Southwestern. 6-14 Warren Central goes to 12-11 New Pal. Indiana Math and Science is 9-11. They're at University to take on the 14-8 Blazers. And the biggest one in Indy on Thursday, it's 3A number 8 Crispus Attucks at 3A number 16 Roncalli. Please stay tuned for Scott Hunt of the Marion Chronicle-Tribune as he breaks down Indiana Wesleyan's win on Wednesday night and previews Oak Hill's girls basketball state championship game on Saturday against Eastern Pekin. And after you're done with this one, please go check out the Purdue report, the IU report, or the Pacers report from earlier this week. And don't forget about the IndyCar report coming up later today, our season previews and predictions. And here's my friend Scott Hunt.
All right, Scott, busy time for you at the Chronicle-Tribune with all of the basketball that's going on. And, of course, Wednesday night, big win for the Wildcats.
It was quite an impressive – had to put one word on their win over St. Francis last night would be clinical. They just took it to St. Francis. I mean, St. Francis actually led 7-5 about 2 minutes into the game, and by halftime it was 47-20. Indiana Wesleyan was just phenomenal on both ends of the floor. They've been trending this way for like the last month of the season. They lost the chance to win the regular season Crossroads League championship. A 5-point loss at Grace, the next to last game of the regular season. But they've been just playing so well. They're so connected right now, and I think I said it before when talking about Indiana Wesleyan, that's a word that the coaching staff likes to use when their teams are playing well, is they're just very connected, and these guys are. Just a few stats from last night's game. The final ended up being 97-55 over St. Francis in the quarterfinals of the Crossroads League tournament. Indiana Wesleyan shot 61.7% for the game, 37-60 from the field. They were 12-26 from 3-point range. Perhaps the most impressive stat of the entire night is there were 30 assists on 37 made field goals.
Wow.
11 different Wildcats had an assist. DJ Moore, senior point guard, led the team with 6. Isaac Andrews, the former Wapahani standout, and Jake Smith from Lake Central both had 5 assists. Just an outstanding performance. Cade Bontrager from Leo High School, 17 points, 18 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals. They had 15 steals as well.
Wow.
Moore and Andrews both had 4 steals apiece. They held St. Francis to 26% from the field in the first half, 37 for the game. Just like I said, clinical, man. They were efficient and dominant, and
they play Huntington on Saturday. They're probably favored in that one too, right?
yeah, that game will tip off at 3:00 in Lucky Arena. That's traditionally Donnybrook between Indiana Wesleyan and Huntington. They split games this year. Indiana Wesleyan protected their home court and won in the second half of the season. Huntington won up at Platt Arena early in the season. So by that standard, Indiana Wesleyan will host and should be the favorite. Obviously, Iowa's the number 2 seed. Huntington's the number 3 seed. I think both are solidly into the NAIA field of 64 tournaments. Field of 64 for the national tournament. I don't think there's any question about that. I would say Indiana Wesleyan's favored, and if they continue to play the way that they've been playing, they're going to be a hard out. I honestly got the feeling following the game, I didn't get a chance to talk to Coach Tonigal, but I talked to Coach Jeff Clark, who's the associate head coach. I got the feeling that they would embrace another chance to go to play Grace and have a chance to, play Grace and win a league championship up there. Obviously they've got to take care of business at home on Saturday too. And Grace has a tough matchup with Bethel. I think Grace and Bethel split their games this year. So it's the Crossroads League and it's tournament time.
All 4 of those teams are going to the tournament, right?
100%. And I think Taylor's got a strong case. They ended up fifth in the league standings. I think Taylor's got a strong case to be included in the field. It'll be interesting to see what the pairings look like. They lost last night at Bethel, but they won a regular season game at Bethel. They beat Indiana Wesleyan at Taylor early in the season. Taylor right now they've won 19 games this season, finished 11-7 in the conference in 5th place. They were the number 5 seed. I think there have been many years that the Crossroads has gotten 5 teams in the NAIA field, and I think you can make a case that the Trojans belong there this year.
I hope so. Of course, I'm a Taylor grad, so is producer Susie. So we hope the Trojans get in there. They struggled an awful lot down the stretch. Hey, Scott, how impressive was Oak Hill on Saturday?
It's really hard to put into words, honestly. I don't know. You could have gone around Case Arena outside of Oak Hill's locker room if there were very many people that believed that Oak Hill would have done what they did.
I basically discounted the fact that they'd win that tournament.
I don't think there were many people that thought they were going to get past Whitco in that first game. And the fact that they led basically all but 20 seconds of that game, and it wasn't a blowout by any means, but there was, from the middle of the third quarter to basically the end of the game, it never felt like that Whitco was a threat to win that game.
The better team.
They were clearly the best team there. I see the Lapel Bremen game. I heard that Lapel did not look like themselves for much of that game. After the first, they had a early big lead, and Bremen came back and quickly took that away and did pretty well at containing Miss Wills. Bremen came out and kind of took that momentum in the first quarter and had a 1-point lead, but Oak Hill that in the championship game seized the momentum in the second quarter and never started the second quarter with a 15-2 run and just built a 20-point lead with couple minutes to go in the third quarter, and Bremen made a run at them, and a significant run at them in the fourth quarter. They hit, I think, 5 threes and cut the lead to 6 midway through the fourth quarter. And, Oak Hill just They stayed calm, stayed poised, and made the plays they needed to make to finish that game off. It was impressive. You talk about stats don't always tell the story, but I think you look at what Oak Hill did in the two games. They out rebounded Whitco like 32-11 for the game. It wasn't quite that significant against Bremen, but it was 31-18, I think, is what they ended up out rebounding Whitco. Going into the semi-state tournament, Oak Hill was, as a team, shooting 54% from the free throw line. They were 9 for 13 against Bremen. They were 16 of 20 against Whitco. Brianna Daly, 19 and 10 against Whitco, 16 and 14 against Bremen. They had 4 kids in double digits against Bremen. I think Landry Hardman was sensational against Whitco. She was absolutely hit clutch threes, made a couple plays going to the basket that were just outstanding. Lily Edwards against Bremen kind of helped turn the tide. She hit 3 big threes, two to start the second quarter that really that gave Oak Hill the lead for good. And just everybody that stepped on the floor for the Golden Eagles on Saturday did something to help them win both of those games. And there was no doubt who the best team was in Case Arena Saturday. And
Play like that on Saturday this week, I think they probably win this one too.
For sure. I don't think there's any question. I've spent some time. I'm halfway through the regional game now. I haven't got to sit and watch all of it, but I've been watching Eastern's game against Austin in the regional, and Eastern's a good basketball team. Obviously, you don't get to the state finals and beat the teams that they've beaten along the way and not be a good basketball team, but I think the matchup is going to be a good one. But the athleticism and the size and the length that Oak Hill puts on the floor and the way they defend all over the court, in the half court, it's just a difficult matchup at the 2A level, and it's hard for teams to score against consistently. I know they gave up over 50 points in both of those games, but I think the bigger surprise, I've just kind of thought, if this basketball team, if the Oak Hill girls score 60 points, over 60 points in games, they may not lose all next year. That's how well they defend, and they shot over 50% in both of the games, and it was just I think there was, and this is just speculation on my part, but I think the fact that they were considered the underdogs did a couple things. No one gave them a chance, and I think that kind of put a chip on their shoulder for one, but I also think it helped them relax. I think it helped them really come into that game with we got nothing to lose attitude. Once they got into the game and started playing freely, it just kind of snowballed. And Morgan Cates has been a big part of what they do, and she was absolutely spectacular with everything she did. Her pass, maybe as much as anything, her passing in both games was really, really good. She was good on the boards. It's such a team. Daly gets a lot of the headlines, and deservedly so. Landry Hardman gets a lot of notoriety, and deservedly so. But the kind of the unsung hero that does a lot of the dirty work, and she's the junkyard dog, man. She's a bulldog, is Erica Newhouse, and she had 20 rebounds, had 10 rebounds in each of those 2 games, had 5 assists against Bremen. I think 6 steals against Whitco. If you get to watch Oak Hill this weekend, watch what Erica Newhouse does, because she's all over the place all the time.
The Central Indiana Sports Report is a product of ITG Media.
And I love Susie.